So, hello everyone. Today I'm going to interview a fantastic pianist and she's going to speak about her career. How are you doing, Nina?
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm very well. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, music came into my life very early. Although none in my family is a professional musician, my mother was playing the piano. So we already had a piano at home, and it got clear that I will also start with playing the piano. So with about at the age of 1.5 years already, I visited a music course for toddlers where we sang and danced and made music. And then we visited a special program where we learned about the rhythms and the music notes and did a lot of solfege singing and learning to play the keyboard. And at the age of 6, I started to take serious piano lessons in a public music school in Vienna, where I also was accepted to a promotion program for gifted students, where I also was quite successful with competitions. And that was the time when it got clearer and clearer that I will also do the piano playing professionally as well. So I began to study at the University of Music and Performing at the University of Music and Performing Arts in Vienna. So yeah, yeah.
So that was the beginning. And what does music represent in your life?
So there are many things I love about music. For example, I know these are sentences, sound like a cliche, but for example, the sentence music connects or music is a universal language, I think they're really true because I do a lot of chamber music as well. And I always make the experience that we immediately have a connection when we share music with friends or colleagues at the university. And another thing I love about music is that I can evoke emotions in people with my playing. I think it's even more touching if these people are not musicians and people who don't listen to classical music in general. So yeah, these are things that I love the most about music. Yeah.
I understand. So you want to reach a public that won't be analyzing technically, basically. It's more like feeling the music, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Very well. And do you have a favorite composer or period of music?
Um, I always loved the composers of the Romanticism like Brahms or Chopin or Schumann, but I have to say I get to love what I play as soon as I get deeper into a piece. For example, now it's Poulenc. Um, yeah, but I'm quite open and interesting. For composers or about composers. So it's difficult to decide on one specific.
I understand. So you keep yourself open-minded to new
Yeah,
things and to
yeah.
listening and what you're performing at the moment, right? Do you also teach music?
Yeah, I have done it for many years now. I have my own piano students who are funny. They're all young children, not adults, but and always beginners. It was a coincidence, but they're also or always beginners and young children. So at the age of 7, 8 years old. Yeah, yeah,
I understand. So you teach basically teach kids, right?
yeah, yeah.
Beginners. And do you feel that you can somehow help them from the beginning how to understand the positions, the right position of playing, and all the strategy, the technique that is demanded.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's always they're all individuals, so there are different strategies and ways how I teach. But I think it's also for me very interesting to see the processes or and progresses. Yeah, if they when they're study a new piece or I don't know, learn new chords or yeah, notes or of course. So yeah, yeah,
Something important that you said is that everyone is an individual, different
yeah.
approach. You have to study each of your students. But is there a general important tip that you can give for a person? For example, if you want to be a pianist, a musician, a professional one, is there something really important that you would always say to your students?
I think it is very important that you love music and in general love what you do. But you have also be aware that playing the piano and practicing it won't be always fun. There will be tough and difficult times as well. Um, yeah, but I think maybe the most important thing is never compare yourself with others. So follow your own way and keep in mind that people or the audiences don't want to see thousands of copies who all play the same way. They want to see individual personalities. So yeah, always follow your own way. Yeah. I know
That's
it's easier said than done, especially at the beginning, but yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps because in the beginning people have a tendency to think they have to interpret as perfect as possible, right?
Yeah.
Because the music is written there. But something that you said that I agree is that you have to put on your own way of playing and personality
Mhm.
when it's possible, right? And there is a
Yeah.
fine line or thin line between interpreting and changing
Yeah,
a
yeah.
piece, right? Then how do you deal with that? Because classical music is always hard, right? There is no very easy piece to get when you perform. How do you plan your studies?
You mean when I learn a new piece or
Yeah.
yeah? Um, okay, it's funny that I say it after the question before, but I always listened to some pianists on YouTube or live concerts, depending on the pieces, which ones. For example, Daniel Barenboim. I personally love with Beethoven, or Andras Schiff with Bach. But as I said, depending on the pieces. But I always listened to some great personalities in the pianist section. Yeah, yeah.
That's great. And do you sometimes watch some master classes or famous musicians? Do you like to go see them?
To attend or to only to watch
To
or
watch, yeah.
I think it's always very interesting. Yeah, to hear the interpretation or the opinions of the teachers of the pianists. Yeah, and especially if you are playing the same pieces at the moment or you have played it. So of course it's also a great inspiration for your own playing. Yeah, or as well if there are other pieces than what you are playing at the moment. So yeah, it's always a good idea to to watch and to hear, to listen to some master classes, of course. Yeah.
That's amazing. And if you had a time machine, what a question, huh? Which
Yeah.
composer or who would you choose to have a 2 hour lesson with?
Um, Probably some of the romanticism, because it's my favorite time. Yeah, it would be, I think, very interesting to get to know them in person, in real life. Yeah, what, because probably they, or or of course they had their own ideas of their pieces, and maybe it's a completely other way than we think today. So I think probably the composers of the Romanticism, but it's difficult to decide on one. So yeah, maybe if I had to choose, maybe Brahms, Johannes Brahms. Yeah, yeah.
Good choice. Yeah. I would choose Beethoven, but I know that he wouldn't listen to me, so
Oh.
maybe. And tell us a little bit about plans for the future in your career, the concerts coming soon.
Yeah, in autumn I will have 2 solo concerts in Serbia, in Belgrade, and one with an orchestra, with a string orchestra. Yeah, these are the main projects of my future career, but of course always teaching as well. And yeah, my dream would be to combine it, so the active pianist part and to work with children, or yeah, to teach. Yeah, that would be great.
After the COVID-19, we had a different way of teaching. Most of the teachers became online teachers. How
Yeah,
did it
yeah.
affect all the pianists specifically?
Um, Maybe in the way of listening to some pieces or to the playing. Um, yeah, because as I said, it, especially for us, for the pianists, it was very difficult to listen, yeah, online via Zoom, because we have chords and we have not only single notes. So yeah, maybe or probably in the listening to the way of listening changed a little bit. Yeah, yeah,
I understand. Yeah, it was a terrible period, and most of the teachers, especially the musicians, were affected. Yeah, and also the performances were
of
difficult.
course, of course. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank God that we don't have this anymore. It's yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, we are very happy to get piano lessons in real life again. So it's much more easier than at this time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because when you teach piano, you're checking the position of the student, so
of
perhaps
course,
you need
yeah,
this to see the very close, right?
yeah, and phrasing or dynamics and yeah. So and these are all things which were very difficult to hear via Zoom or online. So yeah.
And the piano is the favorite instrument of the composers. We all see photos or images from the early ages, all the composers on the piano. Why is this instrument so important for music?
I think the piano, you can do a lot of things with the piano. You can um, be a solo instrument. You can play chamber music. You can play background music. So yeah, you can play melodies or chords. I think you can use it, if I can use the word use. You can use it in different and in many ways. So yeah, and with other solo instruments, it's more difficult or impossible to play. I don't know, background music or alone solo. So I think it's, yeah, you can use it in more than one way. So
Mm.
I think it's of course very important for many things and many sections. Yeah.